This is Dott TV News at 4. I am Chiamaka Ezapata, and here are the stories we have for you. Vice President Kashim Shettima has called on both local and foreign investors to take advantage of Nigeria's improving economic outlook, declaring that Delta State is strategically positioned to emerge as one of the country's foremost investment destinations. Speaking at the opening of the Delta State Economic and Investment Summit 2026 in Asaba, the Vice President said the bold economic reforms initiated by President Bola Tinubu's administration had strengthened macroeconomic stability, improved Nigeria's global credit profile, and created the right environment for long-term investments.
According to the Vice President, increased federal allocations resulting from ongoing fiscal reforms have empowered state governments to embark on ambitious development programs. He added that recent upgrades by Fitch Ratings, S&P Global Ratings, and Moody's reflect growing international confidence in Nigeria's economy.
Since we assumed the mantle of leadership, we have scarcely taken a break from summits, strategy sessions, and investment dialogues. We promise to place Nigeria on the path of growth, and each gathering offers another platform for turning that promise into enterprise. Every host state contributes to the Federation's commercial ambition. One highlights agriculture, another minerals, technology, ports, energy, or tourism. In that healthy rivalry, Nigeria discovers the full measure of her work. Delta State enters this moment with an advantage. That advantage is larger than its oil well. It resides in the conviction behind this gathering that the future of a people cannot be deposited in a single commodity.
Shettima commended Governor Sheriff Oboriwori for convening the summit and assured that the federal government will continue to work closely with subnational governments to remove barriers to enterprise and support credible private sector investments. Earlier, Governor Sheriff Oboriwori announced that the Delta State government had set aside $100 million as viable gap funding to de-risk strategic private sector investments, describing the initiative as a major step towards converting investment commitments into bankable projects. He said the summit was conceived not merely as a platform for discussions, but as a vehicle for delivering measurable investments capable of accelerating industrialization, economic diversification, and job creation.
This administration believes in a data-driven development model that is private sector-led and creates opportunities for our teeming youth population. Our primary goal today is to partner with interested parties to maximize our state competitive advantages, develop the non-oil sectors of the economy, create jobs, accelerate economic development, and achieve sustainable development. The agro-industrialization plan of this administration, as contained in the MORE agenda, provides ample opportunities for profitable private sector investments in commercial agriculture and agricultural value chain.
In her keynote address, Director General of the World Trade Organization (WTO), Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, urged Delta State to leverage global supply chain realignments, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and Nigeria's ongoing economic reforms to position itself as the country's next industrial growth hub. She advised the state government to prioritize investments in strategic sectors, including the Delta Special Economic Zone, agro-processing, the blue economy, oil and gas value addition, marine logistics, and digital infrastructure. She also emphasized the need to invest in artificial intelligence and digital connectivity to equip young people with skills for the future.
Diversification and deconcentration of global supply chains and the desire to seize the opportunity of the African continental trade area is what we're talking about. It's at the heart of what I think Delta State should be thinking about in its growth and development strategy. Somebody said, think beyond Nigeria, think outside, and that's what we're also trying to say. I'm convinced that Delta State has the ingredients to become Nigeria's next great industrial hub. That's what I wish for it as a daughter of Delta. Standing alongside Lagos, Kano, and Port Harcourt as an engine of the national economy. The emergence of a new growth pole here in Delta State would be good for Nigeria as a whole. It would help decongest some of our economic hubs like Lagos and Kano that are becoming overcrowded. Lagos alone accounts for around a quarter of Nigeria's GDP and half of its non-oil GDP. Consider Delta's natural, infrastructural, and human endowments. We've heard about them. Abundant natural gas, a coastline with seaports at Warri, Sapele, Bruto, and Escravos, the Itape-Ajaokuta-Warri rail line, the fertile land of Delta State, solid minerals, 49 tertiary institutions producing young people who want opportunities in the state where they grew up.
The renowned Pan-Africanist Professor Patrick Lumumba challenged African governments and investors to place greater confidence in the continent's economic potential, insisting that Africa possesses the resources, talent, and entrepreneurial capacity required to drive sustainable development.
You are doing a good job, but that job can be better. That job can be an African job. That job can give meaning to Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That job can have meaning to Africa Agenda 2063, but a number of critical issues must also be done by the Nigerian federal government. We must allow people to move freely within the continent. Your Excellency, the Vice President, Nigeria is the biggest economy in real terms in sub-Saharan Africa. I look forward to the day when, if I'm an investor in Delta, I want to invest in the blue economy, I want to invest in any area, I can take my plane from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and arrive here in Asaba without a landing and exit card. I look forward to that day. I look forward to the day when there will be no visa for an African coming to this country. Because when you are big, the expectations from you are big.
Also speaking, Anambra State Governor Professor Charles Soludo said Nigeria's macroeconomic fundamentals had improved considerably, noting that the country had moved from capital flight in 2023 to a more stable and predictable exchange rate environment in 2026. He advocated stronger economic collaboration between Delta and Anambra states and urged governments to make investment promotion a continuous process rather than an occasional event.
Delta alone will try, but together, harnessing the neighborhoods. And I suggest that Delta and Anambra are literally like the relationship with the completion of the second Niger Bridge. It's like twin cities. You now have us here, between New York and New Jersey, for example. We must now, as two states, cascade our relationship beyond our personal friendships to now working group. Because I can say, in a whole lot of areas where Anambra could also piggyback on what is going on in Delta and where Delta could piggyback on what is going on here. You have an economic free trade thing. We are building a new commercial industrial city powered by an aerotropolis. We have quite a lot in common and we better synergize.
Emeka Okonkwo reporting for Dott TV News.
Meanwhile, some concerned tricycle operators, popularly referred to as keke riders, have appealed to Delta State Governor Sheriff Oberiwori to approve the rehabilitation of portions of Udu Road in Udu local government area that are in a very deplorable state. The bad portions of the road include the Good God Plaza, Neo Peace Petrol Filling Station, Shewe Gas Filling Station, and Ubogo Market Junction portions of Udu Road. One of the tricycle operators, Jacob Okubio, complained that the bad spots continue to damage commercial tricycles on that route on several occasions. Another respondent, Kelvin Ojewe made a similar complaint as he lamented that the ugly development has adversely affected patronage of commercial tricycle operators, as he noted that most passengers prefer patronizing motorcycles for easier and faster journey. Staying in Delta, the state's Universal Basic Education Board, in collaboration with the Universal Basic Education Commission, on Monday flagged off its climate change and school greening curriculum initiative with a sensitization program and tree planting exercise at Oharisi Primary School, Ugeli. The program, themed enhancing the implementation of climate change and a greening curriculum, is aimed at promoting environmental consciousness in schools through practical actions that encourage climate change education on sustainable environmental practices. Representing the executive chairman of Delta Subeb, Samuel Mariere, the education secretary of Ugili North Local Government Education Authority, Pius Omubaye, said the major focus of the program was to reduce environmental pollution, introduce climate change initiatives in school curriculum, and revive the culture of tree planting. He observed that many people no longer plant trees despite their importance in producing oxygen, conserving water, reducing soil erosion, and maintaining ecological balance. Outside Delta, the federal government has directed all vice-chancellors, rectors, and provosts to immediately expel any student found guilty after due investigation of involvement in kidnapping or other violent crimes. Education Minister Tunji Alausa gave the directive during a meeting with the management of the Federal University of Lafayette, following concerns that some students were allegedly linked to off-campus kidnapping activities. He said campuses must never become safe havens for criminals and urged institutions to strengthen intelligence gathering and work closely with security agencies. He announced that TETFON's 2027 intervention program would support security projects in tertiary institutions, including perimeter fencing, while the Energizing Education program would be expanded to improve electricity supply through solar power and battery storage. The National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, has asked the Court of Appeal in Abuja for permission to refile an appeal against the Federal High Court judgment that restrained it from imposing fines on broadcast stations. The application comes after the appellate court struck out the regulator's initial appeal on June 17, 2026, citing a fundamentally defective notice of appeal. In its latest application filed by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Dapo Akinoshun, the NBC is seeking an extension of time to challenge the judgment delivered by Justice Rita Ofili Ajumogobier in a suit brought by the Media Rights Agenda. The legal clash stems from 2022, when the NBC slapped 5 million naira fines each on MultiChoice Nigeria Limited, DSTV, Telecom Satellite Limited, TSTV, Trust TV Network Limited, and NTA StarTimes Limited. The sanctions were imposed after the broadcasters aired documentaries on banditry and insecurity in Zamfara State, which the regulator claimed undermined national security. However, Justice Ofili Ajumogobier ruled that the NBC acted unlawfully and unconstitutionally, declaring that the Commission lacks the powers of a court of law to impose punitive fines. Human rights lawyer and the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has called for comprehensive investigations into controversial deaths across the country, insisting that every suspicious case must be thoroughly examined to ensure justice and accountability. Falana said the constitutional right to life remains sacrosanct and must be protected at all times, noting that any circumstances surrounding unnatural or questionable death should be subjected to rigorous scrutiny by relevant authorities. Among the cases highlighted by the senior lawyer is the death of Mary Habila, a young woman whose body was discovered on June 27, 2026, in a residence associated with the Minister of Works, David Omahi, in Uburu, Ebonyi State. Although Omahi has denied any involvement in the incident, maintaining that the deceased died from a medical condition and that the matter was duly reported to the Nigeria Police Force, Falana expressed concern over aspects of the investigation. Meanwhile, Ebonyi State government has intensified enforcement measures against unsafe and dilapidated buildings across the state capital as part of efforts to prevent structural collapses and protect lives and property. The inspection followed an earlier exercise conducted on July 7, during which owners and occupants of distressed buildings were served notices to vacate or demolish unsafe structures. During the operation, officials inspected a one-story building in Abakaliki, identified as posing a significant safety risk. Coming up shortly on the news at 4. Mass funeral in Gaza for 112 Palestinians killed in 2023 Israeli strike. And that's on Foreign Scene. We also have sports stories all coming up after this timeout. Please stay with us.
In the heart of Asaba, where the street tells the stories every single day.
From the corridors of powers to the decisions shaping governance and politics in Delta and Nigeria.
From traders counting every naira to families battling rising costs and uncertain times.
From football pitches to sporting successes to the major developments making the headlines all over the world.
And from the untold human stories, the struggles, victories, resilience, and hope of the everyday Nigerians.
This is the news beyond the headlines. Dott TV News are your trusted window to stories that truly matter to the people. Here, we don't just report events, we tell the human stories behind them.
The Delta Broadcast Media Organization, in conjunction with the Delta State Ministry of Information, presents the Delta Broadcast Media Conference 2.0. Theme: the broadcast media as a democratic catalyst, shaping public trust and electoral credibility in 2027. Keynote speaker, Sheun Okimbaloye, anchor Politics Today on Channels Television. Guest speakers, Ayo Mairo Esse, anchor Arise News, Agatha Amata, CEO Trend FM, Samuel Fejoku, veteran broadcaster and senior special assistant to the governor on protocol. Guest of honor, Honorable Charles Ehiedu Aneagu, Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information, and Right Honorable Imomotimi Dennis Guo, Speaker, Delta State House of Assembly. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Right Honorable Elder Sheriff F.O. Oborewori, the Executive Governor of Delta State. Convener, Media Personality Ruki Onoro. Date, August 14, 2026. Time, 10 a.m. Venue, Unity Hall, Government House, Asaba. There'll be high-level networking, media interaction, capacity building, awards, and lots more. Register to attend on www.deltabroadcastmediaconference.org. For inquiries, call 0706 701 8400 0803 874 9265. Delta Broadcast Media Conference 2.0, powered by Delta State Government. Sponsors Dominion Pearl Homes and One Naija app. Supported by NTA, DBS, Quest FM and TV, Warri Sentinel, Trend FM, Mega FM, Baramatu Voice, Boko FM, Crown FM, Sleek FM, Eku FM, Big Hot Radio, Cruise FM, Atlantic TV, Rise FM, and Dott TV.
Thanks for still being there. Now to the rest of our stories. The Kano State House of Assembly on Tuesday suspended the chairman of Bagwai, Bebeji, and Rogo local government areas for 3 months over allegations of financial misappropriation, abuse of office, and other acts of misconduct. The resolution followed the adoption of the report of the House Committee on Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, presented by its chairman Aliyu Muhammad during a plenary presided over by Speaker Ismail Falgore. Muhammad said the committee investigated separate petitions against the 3 council chairmen after the assembly referred the complaints to it for legislative scrutiny. According to the report, the committee established cases of alleged misappropriation of public funds earmarked for developmental projects in Bagwai local government area. The Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, a national union of air transport employees, have threatened to shut down the operations of airlines that fail to remit ticket sales charge to key agencies, warning that picketing will commence any time from now. The aviation unions made this known in a notice issued on Tuesday after the expiration of a 7-day ultimatum on Monday, August 3. The ultimatum followed an earlier 14-day notice to the 14 airlines over the non-remittance of the statutory 5% levy collected from passengers on behalf of aviation agencies. The ticket sales charge is a statutory fee paid by passengers and collected by airlines, which is expected to be remitted to aviation agencies to fund safety, navigation, training, and regulatory services. And now to the foreign scene. 2 Whiteberries warehouses were hit by Ukrainian strikes overnight on Monday, with another site, apparently linked to Russia's largest online retailer, also damaged near Moscow. Ukraine has been targeting facilities operated by the company, often dubbed the Russian Amazon, in recent weeks. At least 5 people were killed and 10 more injured at an industrial site about 69 kilometers, 43 miles south of the Kremlin, local officials said, without confirming it was run by Whiteberries. Elsewhere, officials did confirm 2 other Whiteberry sites were hit in the St. Petersburg and 12 regions. Meanwhile, large crowds turned out in Gaza City for a mass funeral for 112 people, mostly women and children, who were killed in an Israeli strike on a residential block in late 2023, earlier in the Gaza war. The bodies belonging to members of 2 extended families have only recently been recovered from under the rubble in a 2-week-long operation. Dramatic footage showed the remains lined up in rows, each victim covered with a Palestinian flag, and some with a photo of the dead before relatives carried them away. The funeral is said to be the biggest of its kind to have taken place in Gaza. Elsewhere, more than 150 migrants have been rescued after the boat they were using to cross the Channel caught fire on Tuesday morning. The boat was attempting to cross to the UK when its engine caught fire, according to the French Maritime Prefecture of the Channel and North Sea. It said 157 people have been rescued and are being taken to port in Boulogne-sur-Mer. There are no reports of anyone having been injured or killed. It comes just a day after Prime Minister Andy Bonham pledged his government will be relentless in curbing the number of people arriving in the UK on small boats. For sports stories, let's now join Anthony Uche.
We begin with football news, where Mauricio Pochettino has agreed a contract extension that will see him remain as head coach of the United States men's national team until 2030. Having taken charge in September 2024, the former Spurs and Chelsea manager recently guided the co-host nation to the round of 16 at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, where their campaign concluded with a defeat to Belgium. Under the expanded terms of the agreement, Pochettino and his technical staff will take on broader developmental responsibilities beyond the senior team. US Soccer has tasked the Argentine manager with advising across national team pathway, supporting youth development, aiding coaching education, and enhancing collaboration with domestic professional leagues to build a lasting legacy for American soccer. Now to some sad news where the UFC have announced the sudden passing of Brazilian flyweight fighter Alan Nascimento at the age of 34. According to the promotion, Nascimento was found unresponsive on Monday morning after suffering an apparent heart attack in his sleep, with medical personnel unable to revive him at the scene. Nascimento, who joined the promotion in 2021, compiled a 4-2 UFC record and an overall MMA record of 22-7, with his final bout occurring in June against Mitch Raposo. In tennis, Serena and Venus Williams have received a wildcard entry for the women's double draw at the Cincinnati Open, scheduled for the 11th to the 23rd of August. The WTA 1000 event marks the first competitive doubles appearance together since 2022 US Open, following a setback in July where a knee injury sidelined Serena for their planned team-up at Wimbledon. The appearance in Ohio could signal Serena's potential return to the US Open, where she would continue her pursuit of a record-breaking 24th Grand Slam singles title. Alongside her sister Venus, who also secured a wild card into the Cincinnati singles field, the iconic duo boasts of a formidable joint legacy, including 14 major doubles titles and 3 Olympic gold medals. Finally, and still on tennis, world number 28, Alexandra Ayala, claimed her milestone WTA title after mounting a dramatic comeback victory over third-ranked Jessica Pegula in a rain-delayed final in Washington. After Sunday's play was halted by inclement weather, with Pegula up a set and Ayala leading 2-1 in the second, the 21-year-old Filipino returned on Monday to dominate the restart, dropping just 3 games to seal a 4-6, 6-4, 6-love triumph. Driven by a determined left-handed serve and the relentless baseline hitting, the victory extends Ayala's winning streak against top 10 opponents to 5 and projects her to a career-high world ranking of 20. In the men's draw, world number 10, Taylor Fritz, secured his 11th ATP title, his first since Eastbourne last year by defeating 19-year-old Spaniard Rafael Nadal 7-6, 6-4 in the final. From the sports desk, Anthony Uche for Dott TV News.
And that's all we have for you on Dott TV News at 4. Thank you for your time. I am Chiamaka Ezapota.